Today I'm going to tell you the story of the God without hands. From the very beginning of time, people have been aware of God. They could feel God, but they couldn't see God. And they were always asking, in all their different languages, where was God to be found? Who was God? And what was God like? So, they would ask the wisest of their wise, who is God? And the wisest of the wise would think and ponder and answer and say, God is the most perfect of beings. But what does God look like, they would ask. Does God have a body like us? And the wisest of the wise would answer, no, God does not have a body. No eyes to see with, no hands to work with, and no feet to walk with. But then where's God? They would ask. And the wisest of the wise would answer, God is very far, far away, and God is very, very near. This frustrated the people. How could there be a God who could not touch anything or walk anywhere? A God who could basically not do anything. So they asked, what has God actually done? So the wisest of the wise answered, all that is. All that's here right now was done by God the Creator, who made all that was and is and will yet be. All things the Creator made behave as the Creator intended. They were prepared for, they were nurtured, and they are all loved. And God keeps the whole of God's creation in a most wonderful harmony and balance. Now, in the beginning there was only God, complete and calm. There was nothing needed. Yet God chose to become a creator, and all that God willed, all around us, came into being. The lights and the stars and the sky and the earth and the plants and all the animals. Many people thought, this is just a tale. Because how could someone with no eyes and no hands and no feet make anything? How can God make the wind that blows and the mighty mountains? How can a spirit make birds and fish and flowers and even the smell that the flowers? It's all very well, they thought, to say God is everywhere. But who's seen God? And how can we be sure God is everywhere? It really does seem impossible, doesn't it? We have hands, and we can't make things like this. We can talk to animals, and they don't listen so well. Some of them do not listen or obey us at all. And how can I even imagine talking to the wind and the sea and the mountains and expect them to hear me? They're not even living things. I could shout and scream and wave my arms all around, and they still would not hear me, and they certainly wouldn't obey me. That's how it seems to me. Is that how it seems to you? As you will see, everything that exists, whether it has life or not, in all that it does, and in the very act of just being, actually obeys the Creator. God's creatures do not know that they're obeying. Those that are inanimate, they just keep going on existing. Those that have life move and go on living. And yet every time a cool wind brushes against your cheek, its voice, if we could hear it, it would say, yes, Creator, I obey. And when you see the birds, or even falling fruit and limbs from trees, or the butterfly coming for some nectar from a flower, they are all repeating the phrase, I hear and I obey. Now, let me tell you the path of creation. And before the plan could begin. There was only darkness and the immense coldness of space with no beginnings and absolutely no end. Space was indescribably cold and indescribably dark. You cannot imagine, even if you tried so hard, the immensity of coldness and the immensity of darkness. Sometimes we can almost imagine it, but even then we haven't. But then something happened, and it was like a vast, fiery cloud emerging. It was so hot and so bright, and the whole of our universe, everything, was contained inside that cloud. But yet you couldn't see it. There were no stars and no planets yet, but everything that is was contained inside that space. And if you would like to hear how the sun came to dance in space and the earth wobbled through its violent birth, and how the earth eventually wrinkled up as it cooled, I'll post a video for you with the rest of this lesson.